Alan Tate, Ode to the Confederate Dead. Row after row, with strict impunity, the headstones yield their names to the element. The wind whirs without recollection. In the riven troughs the splayed leaves pile up, of nature the casual sacrament to the seasonal eternity of death. Then driven by the fierce scrutiny of heaven to their election in the vast breath, they sough the rumour of mortality. Autumn is desolation in the plot of 1,000 acres, where these memories grow from the inexhaustible bodies that are not dead but feed the grass, row after rich row. Think of the autumns that have come and gone, ambitious November with the humours of the year, with a particular zeal for every slab, staining the uncomfortable angels that rot on the slabs. A wing chipped here and there, an arm, the brute curiosity of an angel's stare, turns you like them to stone, transforms the heaving air, till plunged to a heavier world below, you shift your sea space blindly heaving, turning like the blind crab, dazed by the wind, only the wind, the leaves flying plunge. You know, who have waited by the wall, the twilight certainty of an animal, those midnight restitutions of the blood you know, the immitigable pines, the smoky freeze of the sky, the sudden call. You know the rage, the cool pool left by the mounting flood of muted Zeno and Parmenides. You who have waited for the angry resolution of those desires that should be yours tomorrow. You know the unimportant shrift of death, and praise the vision and praise the arrogant circumstance of those who fall, rank upon rank, hurried beyond decision, here by the sagging gate, stopped by the wall, seeing only the leaves flying, plunge and expire. Turn your eyes to the immoderate past. Turn to the inscrutable infantry rising demons out of the earth. They will not last. Stonewall, and the sunken fields of hemp, Shiloh, Antietam, Malvern Hill, Bull Run, lost in that orient of the thick and fast, you will curse the setting sun, cursing only the leaves crying like an old man in a storm. You hear the shout. The crazy hemlocks point with troubled fingers to the silence which smothers you, a mummy in time. The hound bitch, toothless and dying, in a musty cellar, hears the wind only, now that the salt of their blood stiffens a saltier oblivion of the sea, seals the malignant purity of the flood. What shall we, who count our days and bow our heads with a commemorial woe in the ribboned coats of grim felicity, what shall we say of the bones, unclean, whose verdurous anonymity will grow, the ragged arms, the ragged heads and eyes, lost in those acres of the insane green? The grey, lean spiders come, they come and go, in a tangle of willows without light. The singular screech owl's tight invisible lyric seeds the mind with the furious murmur of their chivalry. We shall say only the leaves flying plunge and expire. We shall say only the leaves whispering in the improbable mist of nightfall that flies on multiple wing. Night is the beginning and the end, and in between the ends of distraction waits mute speculation, the patient curse that stones the eyes, or like the jaguar leaps for his own image in a jungle pool, his victim. What shall we say, who have knowledge carried to the heart? Shall we take the act to the grave? Shall we, more hopeful, set up the grave in the house, the ravenous grave? Leave now the shut gate and the decomposing wall, the gentle serpent, green in the mulberry bush, riots with his tongue through the hush, sentinel of the grave who counts us all. Mr. Pope. When Alexander Pope strolled in the city, strict was the glint of pearl and gold sedans. Ladies leaned out, more out of fear than pity, for Pope's tight back was rather a goat's than man's. Often one thinks the urn should have more bones and skeletons provide for speedy dust. The urn gets hollow, cobwebs brittle as stones weave to the funeral shell a frivolous rust, and he who dribbled couplets like a snake, coiled to a live precision in the sun, is missing. The jar is empty. You may break it only to find that Mr. Pope is gone. What requisitions of a verity prompted the wit and rage between his teeth, one cannot say. Around a crooked tree a moral climbs, whose name shall be a wreath. The Paradigm. For when they meet, the tensile air, like fine steel, strains under the weight of messages that both hearts bear. Pure passion once, now purest hate, till the taut air, like a cold hand, clasped to cold hand and bone to bone, seals them up in their icy land, a few square feet, where into stone the two hearts turning quickly pass once more their impenetrable world. So fades out each heart's looking glass, whose image is a surface hurled by the air. Glass is not. So is their fleeting enmity, like a hard mirror crushed by what the quality of air must be. For in the air all lovers meet, after they've hated out their love. Love's but the echo of retreat, caught in the sunbeams stretched above. Their frozen exile from the earth and lost. Each is the other's crime. This is the equity in birth. Hate is its original paradigm. Aeneas at Washington. I saw myself furious with blood. Neoptolemus at his side, the black Atridae, Hecuba and the 100 daughters, Priam cut down, his filth drenching the holy fires. In that extremity I bore me well. A true gentleman, valorous in arms, disinterested and honourable, then fled. That was a time when civilization, run by the few, fell to the many, and crashed to the shout of men, the clang of arms. Cold victualling I seized, I hoisted up the old man my father upon my back, in the smoke made by sea for a new world saving little, a mind imperishable, if time, a love of past things tenuous, as the hesitation of receding love. To the reduction of uncitted literals, we brought chiefly the vigour of prophecy, our hunger breeding calculation and fixed triumphs. I saw the thirsty dove in the glowing fields of Troy, hemp ripening and tawny corn, the thickening bluegrass, all lying rich forever in the green sun. I see things apart, the towers that men contrive, I too contrived long, long ago. Now I demand little, the singular passion abides its object and consumes desire, in the circling shadow of its appetite. There was a time when the young eyes were slow, their flame steady beyond the firstling fire. I stood in the rain, far from home at nightfall by the Potomac. The great dome lit the water, the city my blood had built I knew no more, while the screech owl whistled his new delight, consecutively dark. Stuck in the wet mire, 4,000 leagues from the 9th buried city, I thought of Troy, what we had built her for. The wolves. There are wolves in the next room, waiting with heads bent low, thrust out, breathing at nothing in the dark. Between them and me, a white door patched with light from the hall, where it never seems, so still is the house. A man has walked from the front door to the stair. It has all been forever. Beasts claw the floor. I have brooded on angels and arch-fiends, but no man has ever sat where the next room's crowded with wolves, and for the honour of man, I affirm that never have I before. Now, while I have looked for the evening star at a cold window, and whistled when Arcturus split his light, I've heard the wolf scuffle and said, so this is man. So, what better conclusion is there? The day will not follow night, and the heart of man has a little dignity, but less patience than a wolf's, and a duller sense that cannot smell its own mortality. This and other meditations will be suited to other times, after dog silence howls his epitaph. Now remember courage, go to the door, open it, and see whether coiled on the bed or cringing by the wall, a savage beast, may be with golden hair, with deep eyes like a bearded spider on a sunlit floor, will snarl, and man can never be alone. I think it's very wonderful to read Alan Tate's poetry. It is, of course, enormously well known in the States, but not very much here. I think very few people have read much of Alan Tate. But there is a gravitas, a philosophical quality, a classicism, which now, sadly, our poetry seems largely bereft of. But it is a great pleasure to read him, and hopefully some people, too, will actually take a book and read him for themselves.